guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video, as you can tell by the title, is not gonna, whoa. As you can tell by the title, is not gonna be like a fun video, but I must have mentioned it a while back, and I've had a lot of people message me asking me if I would do like a story time talking about this experience. If you're sensitive, get some tissues. I'm already starting to cry and I'm not even talking about it yet. Okay, so everyone's experience is different. Everyone has things happen for different reasons. I'm just sharing what happened in my situation. So, like back in '97, which is the year I graduated, I met this guy through like mutual friends, my sister's ex-husband now. We started dating like it was my, was I still in school? Yeah, because he was at my graduation party. I was still in high school. It was my senior year. We started dating. He worked here. He was going to school here, I think, at Ohio State here. And then, like, we dated off and on for years. Like, he was a good guy. I mean, for the most part. He was actually going to school at Ohio State in Columbus for criminology, to be a police officer, which he's currently a police officer in the town. Well, no, he's upgraded to, he's a detective in the town I live in. Anyway, we dated off and on for years. We got together. I mean, we broke up. We'd get back together. Like, he'd be over at my sister's house, and we'd get back together. We'd break up. We'd see each other, and we'd, like, instantly get back together. And the last time we got together, or got back together, it was around, I believe it was around 9/11. Because, like, 9/11 happened. Oh, my gosh. People with their horns. 9/11 happened, and it just, like, gave us a whole different outlook on things in life. Like, it just, I called him, and I was just, like, devastated with what was going on, and I told him, like, you know, I missed him, and I couldn't imagine anything happening to him, and blah, 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 and we actually got back together again. So then, I think he still lived with his parents. Like, he would come home on the weekends from Columbus. That's where he was going to Ohio State in Columbus. And he would, like, the one time he came and picked me up, and then he drove me back to Columbus because I didn't drive on interstate. I was scared. And he drove me back to Columbus, and we stayed with him and his roommate, and we stayed there for the weekend, then he'd bring me home. Or else he would just come home on the weekends and stay with my sister or wherever. Like, even when I still lived at home, he would actually stay at my parents' house. Because, like, we were older. He went to Florida with us on vacations. Like, my family loved him. And then I ended up moving out. And then I think he lived with he lived with his parents. But he didn't, like, officially move in. Like, all of his stuff wasn't there. But, like, most of his stuff was there. And he stayed with me. And I remember the one night, I think he was at work. It's when he was a police officer. He was either at work or he was playing a video game. I think he was playing a video game. And I was in a bad mood, and I had taken a pregnancy test, and it came back positive. I didn't know what to think. I was upset. I was happy. I was scared. Like, I didn't know what the hell was going on. This was back in 2002 by now, like when this happened. Excuse me. Excuse me. So what, 16 years ago? So I'd been like, what, 23? Roughly? Yeah. Anyway, and he asked me something or other, and I said, go look downstairs on the bathroom counter. And he's like, what are you talking about? He went downstairs on the bathroom counter, and he saw my pregnancy test, and it came back positive. He was mad, instantly mad, because, like, he's trying to get his life together and finish college and get, like, started on a good job. We had been on again, off again for, like, years. And so he was mad. Which I'm like, I didn't do it myself. Like, you don't get yourself pregnant, like, obviously. Like, you know, you didn't do anything to try and avoid it. So, I was, like, happy but scared, and I told my mom, like, I was terrified to tell anybody. So, I think I told my sister, and I called my mom and asked her if I could come over. And me and my sister went over to my mom's house, because my sister lived next door to me. And we went to my mom's house, and we told my mom, and she was like, I'm gonna cry. She was, like, over the moon excited. Like, we were all so excited. Like, it was a scary thing, but like an awesome thing. So then, like, we finally got to the realization, like, okay, this is really happening. Like, and then it's like, you start making lists. Okay, oh my gosh, what am I going to need? Am I going to need a crib? I'm going to need a stroller. And you, like, start making lists. Well, I was working for this crappy factory, which that's another story time, because you guys have already asked me to talk about that place too. I was working there, and I was working second shift. I remember I was at work. I started getting, like, not very many people knew that I was pregnant yet. And I was at work and I started getting like really bad back pain. It's like, well, what the heck? I hadn't even been to a doctor yet to like tell me how far along I was or anything. So I called the hospital call nurse and asked them, I recently found out I was pregnant, but I'm having like really bad back pain. Like, should I be worried or not? And they said, you might just want to come in just to be seen. So I told my supervisor, Butch, I remember his name, that I needed to go. I called call nurse and I told him what was going on. And he wasn't Mr. Personality or Mr. Friendly anyway. I told him I was leaving and going to the hospital. So I went to the hospital. My sister met me there. I called my boyfriend at the time and told him, what was going on. He said he would be there after work. He wasn't going to leave work early. He would just meet me there after his shift was over. Oh, so he was already working for the police department. Yeah, at this point. So we get to the hospital, and it was January 31st. And, sorry, this is hard to talk. It gets easier, but then again, it doesn't. So I went in, they did blood work, they did blood tests, and the lady, she said, well, you're about 7 or 8 weeks along. And she said, at this rate, you might just, because my birthday is September 2nd, and she said, you're about 7 or 8 weeks along, maybe a little bit more. She said, maybe at this rate, you might just spend your birthday in the delivery room. And I can hear the lady saying that, because it's like, okay, I'm 2 months along, and in 7 months it'll be my birthday. So roughly around 9 months, it would be my birthday. So then they're doing like the ultrasound. Sorry, when I get nervous, I like fidget. So they had to do an ultrasound. So they did like an external ultrasound. They couldn't find a heartbeat. So they had to do the vaginal ultrasound. So they did that. And then I went back to my room and I sat there with my sister. I think by then he had shown up. Anyway, so I'm just kind of sitting in the room, hanging out, She just told me how far along I was. Now it's like, oh my gosh, I'm about roughly 2 months along. Around my birthday, I should be, having a baby. And then a little while later, they came back in, and they told me that within the next couple days, I was going to miscarry. It's like, wait, what? Like, I was still, like, in the shock of knowing that I was pregnant. And I just kind of sat there. And the doctor's like, I'll leave you alone. I'll give you some time. And my sister, she's like, well, I'll just leave you two alone for a minute. So my sister walked down the hallway, and she sat on the hallway. And I just sat there, like, on the little cot, bed, whatever you call it, and just, like, sobbed. And he sat there, like, across the room in the chair, didn't say a word, didn't come over, didn't hug me, didn't do anything. So I got up and went out in the hallway and found my sister, because I just needed a shoulder, like, more than anything. So I went out in the hall and just sat there with my sister, like, hugging my sister, like, sobbing. So then they set me up to see, like, with an appointment with my, my OBGYN for the next day. My sister even asked, she's like, is there any way that could be wrong? Like, could things, like, could it change? And I said, no, like, there's nothing I could do. It was already, like, done over. That's why they didn't find a heartbeat or anything. So, they said, sorry. So the next day I had to go see my OBGYN, and my sister and my mom went with me. Like, if you've been pregnant before, like, at my doctor's office, when you go in, like, when you're pregnant, they give you, like, this bag, this baby bag. Like, this little thing they call the passport that you take in every time you have a checkup, and they give you a calendar, like, you open, like, it's a countdown. And so I'm sitting there, the lady walks in, and I'm in there to schedule a DNC to go in and have everything removed because I'm having a miscarriage. So the lady comes in, and she's like, oh, here's your baby bag, here's your calendar, every so often you open, the door like this and says, okay, at 5 weeks, this is how big your baby's feet are. And it has like a picture of like, and I looked at her and I'm like, I'm here because I'm having a miscarriage. Like, I'm not having a baby. And she didn't know, like, she obviously didn't read my chart. She just knew what people were there for. You could tell she felt horrible by the look in her face. And she just kind of like dropped her head and walked out. So they talked to me and they scheduled my DNC. I had to go in the next day to the endoscopy center and have a DNC. Like, if you're not familiar with the DNC, like, they go in and they, like, remove everything. The only way to put it. So, the next day, my mom took me. And, like, we had to go to the endoscopy center. They're like, okay, take off your jewelry, take out your belly button ring. And they give you this little cup of pills. And, like, I need you to take these pills and, when you're ready, let us know. And I remember sitting there with my mom and I just sat there. I didn't want to take the pills. I didn't want to leave the room. It's like, my mom, she didn't even know what to do. Like, unless you've been through, you don't even know what to do or what to say. So, it's like, that you're pregnant right now. You have to go in this room
And when you come back out, you're not going to be pregnant. You're not going to have a baby to take home. Sorry. You're not going to have a baby to take home with you. It's the hardest thing. Knowing, like, what's going on and knowing that you have to go in there. You have to have this procedure done. There's, like, no way around it. So I went in. You know, I took my pills. I was just kind of numb. Like, I just cried. I couldn't even talk. I couldn't even think. Tears just poured down my face. I didn't even, what do you even say, you know? So I did that, and I went home, and I actually went to my sister's house, and they, had you stay. They had me, like, on bed rest, just to relax and let things in there heal from the procedure that was just done. And I remember, because they put you out when they do it, so, and anesthesia messed with you, so I remember, if, like, I don't even know if it was, like, a week or just a few days. I honestly don't remember. I remember laying on my sister's couch, and I'd, like, kind of wake up, and I'd see my dad and my grandma came to visit, and I'd go back to sleep, and I'd wake up, and and then from then on, like, I just wasn't the same person. And I remember he didn't really respond to it. Like, his mom, I called his mom to tell her, because she had called, and she's like, hey, you know, I don't want to say his name or her name. You know, he told me that you were pregnant, and, you know, and she was like, so, I remember talking on the phone, like, plain as day. And I told her, I'm like, well, didn't he tell you? And she's like, tell me what? So I told her what was going on, and she was, like, sobbing on the phone. She was more heartbroken than him. Like, she was devastated, just like I was. And she was so nice. And I see her at the grocery store here and there. She always gives me a big hug. She's like the sweetest person in the world. And like him, he didn't get it. Like, I think it was a week later, he wanted me to go to his friend's house and they're going to do pizza. And I think they're going to watch a movie or throw darts or something. I'm like, no, I'm not doing anything like that. And he's like, you know, you can't just lay around forever. And it's like, are you kidding me? Do you even know? Like, you might not care, but. And he's like, well, it's not like you had the baby and then it died. He's like, if that happened, then it'd be a big deal. From that second on, I never looked at him the same. I see him now, and he's not a bad guy. He has a couple kids of his own now. He's married, like, that's long gone, but, like, I never looked at him the same. Like, even if that is how you feel, how do you say that to someone who just, I don't know. Yeah. I never looked at him the same. I don't know. I never thought he was the type of person that would say, like, and I said, we dated off and on for, like, years and years and years. So I had to have that DNC. Later on in life, I had, like, I forget what it was. There was something going on with my pelvis. I don't remember what it was. It was nothing, like, permanent or anything. And then, I forget what year, I think it was 2009, I had to go in and have a LEEP procedure done because I had cancerous cells growing in my cervix or uterus or both. I don't remember. I swear I still have pregnancy brain from when I was pregnant with Alex. Anyway, so I had to go in, and when I had that, I had smoked for like 15 years, and I asked the doctor, I said, you know, if I don't have this procedure done, like, because that one, they hook you up to this machine. They, like, hook you up to a wire to ground you out so you don't get shocked. And they actually go in, you're awake, and they go in and cut out and remove, like, live tissue. There's this vacuum thing. Sorry if this grosses anybody out, but what can you expect? There's this vacuum thing that, like, suctions it out and suctions the smell because it's, like, live organs, like, pieces of your organs that they're taking out. And I remember my mom was holding my hand, and she had a ring on, and her ring, like, shocked me on my hand. But, like, I was hyperventilating. It was, like, the worst thing ever because they go in and numb you, and then they go in and cut pieces out. And I asked him beforehand, I said, you know, if I don't have this done, like, what happens? He said, if you don't have it done, 100% you will have cervical cancer. So there's, like, I couldn't not have it done. So I had the DNC, I had something with my pelvis, I had this LEEP procedure done. So it's like we kind of gave up hope that I would ever have babies. Like, I asked my doctor, and he said, you know, you probably have like a 25% chance. He said we could do extensive, like, testing, but it's really expensive. I was like, I don't even want to know. I don't want him to tell me, you know, hey, you're never going to have them. And he said, you know, every year that you get older, you know, your chances decrease. So years went by, and then, like, 2011 came, and I met up with Jay, which I hadn't seen him since high school. It had been, like, 15 years, and I met up with him one night. We talked on the phone, or, like, through Facebook for, like, a week. And I met up with him one night, And he lived in Wapak, and I met up with him in Walmart's parking lot. I'm like, I know him from school, but I don't know him. Like, I'm not going to go to his house or anything. Like, so we met up on April 8th, 2011. And just, like, instantly there was, like, some kind of connection. I mean, my mom, everybody saw it. And I told my mom, I said, you know, if I ever show up and tell you, like I'm getting married or pregnant, or that I'm pregnant, don't be surprised. And she's like, well, I won't. She said, there's just something, I just see something you've never seen before. Well, 11 days later, Jay got down on one knee over cinnamon rolls and proposed with a diamond ring. So there we were engaged, and within, like, no time, because that was in April, I think it was, I can't remember, it was the beginning of June, I think, that was like, he's like, okay, we're going to take a pregnancy test, and if you're not pregnant, you know, we'll just wait till after we get married. We honestly didn't think of it, so we went to the store, got a pregnancy test, got some ice cream. We're sitting out hanging outside. We were watching Sex in the City, because I have the whole series. We were watching that, and I'm like, I'm just going to take it. And I went and I took it, and it came back positive. It's like, what? Like, I had honestly given up hope that it was ever going to happen. Someone told me, he's like, well, did you take it? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, well, and I just kind of stood there, and he's like, what? He's like, are you serious? And we both, like, cried, and then we ate our ice cream. We sat there and cried. Like, we didn't know what to do, what to think. So, yeah. So, within, like, a month of him and I dating, we had Adriana on the way. And, you know, things went okay with her. I didn't really have any issues. I don't have any issues. I had morning sickness, but I didn't have, I didn't ever throw up. The only time I ever threw up is if I ate a tenderloin from this one place in town that we get tenderloins from. That's the only time I ever got sick. Like, I felt nauseous all the time, but I got those wristbands. Like, before then, like, when I forgot, because, like, when I finally went back to work after being off work on medical leave, I came back to work, and we were in the break room, and this one girl was like, oh, she's like, hey, so-and-so told me you're pregnant. And I was like, no. I'm like, I've been off work for a week. I'm like, I had a miscarriage. I just had to have a D&C. She felt horrible. And then there's this one girl that I worked with. She just was clueless to everything in life. She was homeschooled. She was just kind of different. And every year around my birthday, because, you know, we had talked about it, like, that my due date would have been around my birthday. I think we talked about that before. I don't know. I don't remember how it came about that she knew, like, when my due date was. But every year at work on my birthday, she would ask me, so how old would your baby be? Like, who asked that? Like I said, she's not all there. Like, she's lived on her own, but she'd still go home to her parents' house and do chores every morning. I don't know. Different kind of family. But it was just like, so for all those years, like, on my birthday, that's all I could hear is that nurse saying, you know, oh, at the rate you're going, you just might have a being in, you just might spend your birthday in the delivery room. Like, I will never not hear it. I will never not hear it. And, like, when you go through, at least for me, like, when I first went through it, like, my first thought was, you know, what did I do wrong? Why do I not deserve it? Like, why does God think that I wouldn't be a good mom? Like, why am I such a horrible person that these other people that are mean to their kids get to be moms and I don't? Like, the first thing is you blame yourself. And I read so many articles about that. That's common. Like, the first you just blame yourself. But then you just have to get over, like, you didn't do anything wrong. There was nothing I did that caused it. There was nothing I could have done to prevent it. It's just the way things worked out. You can't blame yourself. As hard as it is, I don't anymore. It was like, maybe God knew that the guy didn't want that baby. Maybe he didn't want a baby to be born to a father that literally didn't want it. I don't know. You just kind of, you could kind of make yourself believe whatever, but I don't blame myself. I did for years. I blamed myself for years. And then, so yeah, there's a good part to this story. So then, when I was pregnant with Adriana, my due date was February 5th, which was Super Bowl Sunday. I was due February 5th, 2012. It was Super Bowl Sunday. But towards the end of my pregnancy, you know, the doctor said, you know, the baby's weighing around like 8 pounds right now. He said, if she gets much bigger, you're not going to be able to have her vaginally. And I didn't want to have a cesarean. I didn't want to even have an epidural, which I didn't with either of my kids. He said, so I think we're going to have to induce you. Well, he scheduled me to be induced on January 31st, 2012. So at 10:52 p.m. on January 31st, 2012, which is 10 years later to the day from when I went in to have, and they told me I was having a miscarriage on January 31st, 2002. 10 years later to the day, at 10:52 p.m., my baby was born. when she was born, she was jaundiced, so she had to stay in the special care nursery for a few days, which I told her, I'm not leaving here without my baby. I'm not going home. And they had like a wing of the hospital that they didn't even use anymore. And they said, you know, you can stay there. There's no nurses. You have to have like your own food. But then with her in there and being jaundiced, I could hold her every she had to be fed every 3 hours. And every 6 hours I could hold her for 20 minutes and feed her. So every 6 hours I'd go in and I'd feed her. It was horrible. I get to hold her because she was like just in a diaper and those goggles. And like as soon as she'd hear me talk, she would pull those goggles off. Like 1 day old and she's pulling those goggles off. Actually, when she was born, I got to hold her for like 15 minutes. And then they said that there was something wrong with her trachea. So they took her away. And then I didn't see her. Later on that night, like midnight, they told me I could stop in and see her before I went to bed. But she had to stay in there. So Jake went and saw her and he came back and he told me, he said, just so you know, she has a tube down her throat. And they came in and told me, you know, they did an x-ray because they found dry blood and fresh blood. So they did an x-ray. They had a tube down her nose. And it was like taped to her chin. I remember. So I got to like, after everything I'd been through, you dream of like when you get like at our hospital, when you have a baby, like when they wheel you over from labor and delivery over to the mom and baby side. They ring a little bell and it plays, Rockabye Baby. It plays a little chime over the hospital so everybody knows that a baby was born. So for me, and they wheel you over holding your baby, they take you to their side. I didn't get to have that. I mean, they wheeled me over. I didn't get to get wheeled over with my baby. She was in the nursery. And we stopped at the nursery so I could see her, and she had the tube down her throat, and I got to see her for like literally a few minutes, and then I had to go in my room. So like people wanted to come visit, like, well, where, like, it's like there's no point in anybody coming up here to visit because she's not even in here. You can't hold her. No one can hold her. You can't see her. She's in the special care nursery. Like, you can see her through the window. Which is hard. Like, after everything I'd been through, I don't think I couldn't have a baby. And then I have a baby, and then she has something wrong with her. But then, so I could go in every 6 hours. I could hold her. And then the every 3, I could just hold her head up and feed her in her little incubator thing. It wasn't even an incubator. She was under, like, the blue light. But a friend of mine that I had known for a long time, she was like my neighbor's friend. She was in there. She was having, I think she had her baby. I think he was super early because she had high blood pressure, I think is what it is. So he was in there. He's just teeny tiny bright red in his little incubator. So every time I go in there, I peek in at him. And like every time she would come in to feed her little boy, or not to feed him because he was on all these tubes, but every time she'd come in to see him, she would peek in on Adrian. And Adrian looked so huge compared to him. Adrian was like 6 pounds, 13 ounces. Yeah. So she wasn't big, but compared to him, like, she was huge. So I forget how many days, 4 or 5 days she had to stay in there, and they'd have to check her, poke her little heel for so many, like, to check her bilirubin level to make sure her jaundice level was coming down for her to be able to come home. And like Jay and I, we stayed in that off wing, and we ordered pizza, and we just kind of hung out for a few days in there. And then when we came home from the hospital, like, everybody was so excited to come over and finally get to hold her and see her. Well, she was like almost 24 hours old. She was in my room for a little bit, like, she got to have her pictures taken and stuff, so my dad got to hold her and my sister, and like, everybody got to hold her, but she just, not for long. You know, she was in my room for like, I think a few hours. She got to be in there, and then she was back to the special care nursery where she spent days. Anyways, when we came home, like, everyone was going to come over and just hang out and see her and visit. And when we got home, I remember, I think my mom, because my mom picked us up from the hospital, she came up, and so did Jay's parents, so they both came up at the same time. And my mom, I told her that I only needed the car seat, like, to just bring the carrier up. She thought I meant up to the hospital, so she didn't bring the base to the hospital, so she had to come back and get the base. And when she came back up, I think we rode home in Jay's parents' car. They brought us home, and then we all just kind of met here. But anyway, when we got home, there was like this big, it looked like a giant picture frame or something that was on my mantle, and it was wrapped. I'm like, what the heck is that? So I was like, what is that up there? And like, Jay had been up there with me. Like, he came home to grab a few things and to take a shower, but other than that, he was up there with me. I'm like, what is that on the mantle? And my mom said, you know, that's a present from me. This is what gets me the most. So I opened it up, and it's the cutest picture. I'll insert a picture of it. It's like this little poem thing. And my mom said, yo, I bought that. I bought that the first time you were pregnant before I had a miscarriage. And she said, sorry. She said she bought it when I was pregnant the first time, like before I had the miscarriage. And she kept it this whole entire time. Let's see, she moved, what, 2 or 3 times? She moved it with her 2 or 3 times and always kept it because she said she just knew that one day I'd have a baby. So she kept this picture for 10 years. Just waiting for the day. Waiting for the day that she could give it to me. Which happened to be exactly 10 years to the day from when I had a from when I went in and it was being told I was having a miscarriage. So that picture hangs in Adriana's room. Right above her dresser. And it's, I still cannot believe it. My mom kept it and moved it. Like, cause I was pregnant, her and my stepdad were still together. They lived in, the house I grew up in. And then they moved out to another house. And then they actually got divorced, and she moved into her own house, and he moved into another house. So she kept it through 2 moves and a divorce. She kept this picture in hopes that she would give it to me one day. She said she just knew. So yeah, it's just crazy that, like, literally the worst day of my life also became, like, the best day of my life was when Adrian was born. So yeah. I mean, I'm not going to say it gets easier because obviously it's not easy to even talk about or even think about. But it's like, I don't sit and cry every day. You know, I have 2 little girls that need me. Yeah, because I have 2 babies. Which, sorry, I don't have any tissues or any napkins or anything near me whatsoever. I didn't think I was going to get this emotional over it, but I just have a lot going on right now with other things anyway. But yeah. Everyone's story is different. I know my cousin, she had a miscarriage, but she actually had to deliver it in her bathtub, and put it like in a container or Ziploc bag and take it in. I'm pretty sure she told me she did. She told me that she could count all 10 fingers and all 10 toes, and I don't know how anyone could ever get that sight out of their mind. Like, so as far as miscarriages or like stillborns happen, I think my case was like the easiest case because I didn't even know for that long that I was pregnant. I'm not saying it's better or it's less hurtful or that it doesn't take a chunk of your heart out, because it still does. But it's like I didn't have to see or hold the baby, you know. I couldn't even imagine. I could not imagine going through that part. Like, so yeah, Adri's my little angel baby, and then along came Alex, and I think they're a big part of why I keep it together and just keep going through the days. Like, yeah, I have some down days, but it's like, if you can get through that, you can get through anything. I'm not saying it's easy, and like I said, everyone's situation's different. But like I said, I don't even know if I knew for a full month that I was pregnant. So it's like I didn't even have my mind wrapped around the whole thing. Like, I had made a list. I started making a list of things that I would need to get. But it's like I think it made it easier not knowing for so long and only being like 2 months along. So I'm not like, I wasn't pregnant for like 4 months and my belly was growing and all that kind of stuff. Like, I didn't even get that far. Like I said, 7 or 8 weeks, maybe a little longer is what she said. So yeah, that is my story. If anyone has ever been through any of the situations I've talked about, my heart breaks for you, because it's like, if you've never been through it, you don't even know. You don't even know. You can imagine how it feels, but you just never know how it feels. Like, I lost a piece of my heart and my soul that day. It's crazy to think I would have like a 16-year-old. It's crazy. which is really weird because Jay's daughter is 16 and then his son's 13. And then Adrian and Alex are 6 and 14 months. But yeah, that's just, I've had many messages over like the last, I don't even know how long. I think it's like when I was doing pregnancy updates that I said something about it. Like when I was pregnant for Alex, and people were asking me if I would share my story. And like every time I share my story, it just brings me down. It makes my stomach just sick. And it's like I'm already down. I already feel sick anyway because I'm dealing with my diverticulitis that's going on. So I thought it was a perfect time to just get it out. And yeah. It's like when I see other people are having like complications with their pregnancy, or like if they're having bleeding, like my heart literally stops for them because I know what the outcome could be. I know how horrible it could be and what that pain feels like. It's a pain I wish nobody would have to ever experience, but what can you do? But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and end this video here and just let it go. Actually, I need to do a video about my diverticulitis because I've had a lot of people asking me what it is and, you know, what, because like people don't even know what it is. I didn't know until I had it. But yeah, I'm going to insert a picture of that picture right here. And yeah, I hope I didn't make anybody cry. And if, like I said, if any of you have ever went through this or even just know my heart's with you, okay? I've been there. I honestly can say I know what it feels like because I do. And nobody could say that to me because no one like had been through it. Yeah, so I'm going to go and take that picture. And get a tissue. Sorry, I have to use my sleep. I don't have anything else to do. But if you're gonna judge me for that, then with the story I'm telling you, then whatever. Alright guys, I will see you next video. No more down videos like this. I just been asked about it. And like I said, I thought now was a perfect time, especially because I've had someone that recently went through it, and yeah, if my story can help anybody so they feel like normal, that they're not the only one feeling the way they feel and blaming themselves, it's normal. It does get easier. You'll never forget. You never get over it. It never doesn't hurt, but it gets easier, I promise. I mean, I'm sure my 2 little girls have a lot to do with why it gets easier, because I have 2 little angels with me all day, every day. Alright guys, I will see you next video.